In this video, I want to talk about a case that came up there before Christmas in the High Court, and it involved 3 men being sent to jail for being in contempt of court. It's the case that's gained quite a lot of media attention in the last year or two, involving KBC Bank and a family called the McGanns in Strokestown in Roscommon. The background to the case is that there's a bit of land or a family farm and there's a family home involved, and the background appears to be that the McGanns got into difficulty with KBC Bank and were unable to pay their debts. And between the jigs and the reels, the High Court ordered the McGanns in October 2019 to vacate the premises because KBC had successfully obtained an order for possession and an order that the McGanns would vacate the premises. It's important to note that there was no appeal of that order pursued by the McGanns or anybody else. In October 2020 then, a year later, the defendants, the McGanns, were brought before the High Court for being in breach of a previous order directing them to vacate the premises and refrain from trespassing. The defendants gave undertakings to vacate the property and remove all personal belongings within an agreed timetable. They gave an undertaking to remove livestock and animals and to ask any persons in occupation to vacate the premises as well. The defendants in the first instance complied with their undertakings to the High Court, but then it became apparent that they hadn't continued on that path and they were in breach of it. So KBC Bank then applied in the case again to have the premises vacated pursuant to the previous October 2019 High Court order. So in December of 2020 there was a decision handed down in respect of 3 individuals, Kevin Taylor, Michael Anthony McGann and Colm Granahan. In November 2020, these 3 individuals were ordered by the High Court to face charges of contempt of court by reason of their occupation of the premises in defiance of the October 2019 order of the High Court. Justice Leonie Reynolds, stated that it was well settled law that committal to prison for contempt of court should only be engaged in as a last resort and where it is necessary to vindicate the authority of the court. She observed that contempt of court in this case was manifest and the defendant's misconduct amounts to a flagrant breach of the High Court order. She commented that the 3 men were given the opportunity to purge their contempt but had refused to do so. In these circumstances, a court has the power to jail a person for an indefinite period of time, and this is precisely what Justice Leonie Reynolds did in this case. She jailed the 3 men for an indefinite period of time until they had purged their contempt of court, as the court was mindful of its obligation to ensure orders of the court are complied with, which is an essential aspect of the rule of law. She adjourned the case until the 22nd of January 2021. She made it clear it was open to the parties to come back before the court and purge their contempt before then and give the appropriate undertaking not to trespass or interfere with the bank or its agents. I don't know whether they've done that or not, the 3 individuals. But what I'm concerned about is the rule of law and the whole question of the legal procedure in this case. Firstly, this is a case that is a very, very sad case. It's a very sad case when anybody loses their livelihood or their business or their home, or in the case of a small farm, all 3 at the same time. And that is, without me knowing the details of this case, appears to be the case as to what happened here between the McGanns and KBC Bank. However, there has been quite a lot of breaches of court orders and so on subsequently to the initial proceedings or the initial order for possession to KBC Bank. And it is a fundamental of any civilised society that the rule of law is upheld. Now, just to be clear, what is the rule of law? I didn't realise that there was a dedicated organisation in Ireland dealing with or concerned with the rule of law, and supported by the Law Society of Ireland and the Bar Council of Ireland and all sorts of other people and supporters, and it has international support as well. But the World Justice Project has developed a working definition of rule of law based on 4 universal principles. Government officials and agents must be accountable under the law. That's number 1. Number 2, laws are clear, publicised, stable and fair, and protect fundamental rights, including the security of persons and property. 3, the process by which laws are enacted, administered and enforced is accessible, fair and efficient. And number 4, access to justice is provided by competent, independent and ethical adjudicators, attorneys or representatives and judicial officers who are sufficient in number, have adequate resources and reflect the makeup of the communities they serve. That is what the 4 principles of universal principles of the rule of law are. To put it very simply and at its most basic, in any civilised society, it's vitally important that rules and laws and regulations are adhered to and upheld, because if they're not, society could quickly degenerate into anarchy. In other words, individuals who don't like decisions or individuals who don't like particular laws could pick and choose in an a la carte sort of a way as to which laws they're going to abide by and which laws they're going to flagrantly ignore. So the rule of law in any civilised society is important. In this case, Justice Leonie Reynolds in the High Court is obviously concerned with and has made mention of the rule of law, and it's to do with the High Court in the previous case, or the same case, but previously with a different judge in October 19, making an order for vacant possession or possession to be handed over to the bank. And on foot of that, then there was a court order in place, and that must be adhered to. Now, no matter what you think of banks, no matter what you think of the KBC Bank, no matter what you think of small farmers, small business people, borrowers, lenders, builders, people from Roscommon or anywhere else, it's a fundamental of civilised society that court orders cannot be just flagrantly ignored. And unfortunately, this is what Justice Reynolds has decided has occurred in this case. I don't know whether these gentlemen have purged their contempt since or not, and clearly it's a very, very sad case. But there's a general lesson we can all learn without getting too high-minded about the rule of law, and that is that even though you may disagree with a decision, even though you may be very, very strong mentally, even though you may be very determined, even though you may feel a massive sense of being hard done by and a massive sense of grievance, when a court makes an order, it's important in any civilised society that that order is upheld and respected and implemented. If not, then it's an appalling sort of a situation, or a potentially appalling situation, like the situation which Lord Denning in the UK saw or envisaged if the Birmingham Six were found innocent. He said it was an appalling vista for the British judicial system. It may well have been, and the Birmingham Six were indeed found not guilty, found innocent and freed and so on, and that appalling vista from Lord Denning's perspective came to pass. Nevertheless, it's absolutely vital in a civilised society that the rule of law is upheld and rules and regulations and laws are abided by, because the vast majority of people do so. As it happens, when I was having a look at this particular case, and I was writing a blog post about it yesterday, the day before, I saw the case involving the singer Mary Coughlin, where apparently she's run foul of the planning laws in Wicklow in respect of a granny flat or some sort of a structure she's built apparently for her daughter and her partner, I believe. I just saw it on the Irish Independent or Twitter or someplace. But again, the Wicklow County Council have ordered the demolition of the structure in question because it doesn't have planning permission and basically flouts the planning laws apparently. And On Board Planola then dealt with an appeal. I don't know which side appealed, whether it was Mary Coughlin or Wicklow County Council, and On Board Planola dismissed the appeal, which is going to leave Mary Coughlin in a difficult position. But again, it's a simple concept, a simple idea, that if there's planning laws, you simply cannot tolerate a situation where people can fire up with the mini digger or any sort of a digger and build what they like, where they like, when they like. There must be rules and regulations, there must be planning laws, there is planning laws, and we can't on the one hand complain and whinge about planning laws not being enforced, and on the other hand whinge and complain when they are being enforced. Anyway, that protestors case, the Strokestown land dispute case with KBC Bank, it's no doubt, undoubtedly a sad case. I've written a blog post about it. It's on my website there, businessandlegal.ie, and the full decision of Justice Leonie Reynolds of December 2020 is in the blog post. You can click on it, have a look. It's only 5 pages long or whatever, but there's a very fundamental idea there, and that is that the rule of law must be upheld and the court orders simply cannot be cast aside, thrown over or ignored. Hope you find this video useful. If you do, I would appreciate if you gave it the thumbs up down below. Thanks a lot.